Today is May 31st, just before noontime. I'm putting together a video for cochlea implant patients to be. It's nice to see an audiologist and even a surgeon to tell you about the cochlea, but perspective of a patient is a little bit different. I had my first cochlea implant installed in the fall of 2017. They were unable to salvage what hearing I had left, but I was a candidate for a cochlea implant install, and it took several months for the insurance company to approve it, testing to take place. I actually went pretty much deaf in January of 2017, and after about a month, they realized it was a futile effort. So it took another 6 months for the insurance company to approve the cochlea after having all this tests and having people do the thing. It's an expensive proposition. The insurance covered, I think it was $60,000 or $70,000 for that. So it's a big expense. So my left ear has a cochlea implant. My right ear has a traditional hearing aid, and that's what I'm showing you right here in front of me. So it has a size 13 battery in there. When I first got it, it was working 10 to 14 days, and that seemed to be the standard. In 2022, the cochlea implant had a manufacturer's defect. They were recalled, which meant surgery again. So I had surgery again in 2022, and they replaced the device that was sitting on the cochlea. Apparently it sprung a leak, and bodily fluids got in there and shorted 7 out of the 16 contacts out, which they stopped counting after 7 failed. And again, they didn't realize the extent of the damage until they removed it and had it tested. But they were doing some kind of testing where they realized that it had failed. And at the time, in 2022, the surgeon indicated to me that there was about a 35% fail rate. He didn't think that my cochlea was actually, based on the hearing test I had, was failing. Well, whatever AB Bionics had, whatever software they hooked up to the cochlea implant, they determined that it had in fact failed. So I was hearing some Morse code in 2019 when I had the cochlea implant out, and I was telling the audiologist and the surgeon that I'm hearing Morse code, hearing static electricity, there's something not right. And they dismissed it as being tinnitus. And I said, no, I've had tinnitus. This is not my first go around with hearing problems. I know what tinnitus is, but they were very dismissive of it. And ultimately, the patient had some merit to what the patient was saying. So the cochlea surgery is basically an all-day thing. It's outpatient, but you're not going to go home and all of a sudden start brushing your teeth and stuff. They peel back your ear. They cut into your ear in order to get to the cochlea underneath, and they install this little device, probably half the size of your fingernail. It's not that big. And then the surgeon closes you up, and it takes 30 days for it to heal, and it takes 30 days for the body to take, if you will, that cochlea implant device. And it's very, 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 very small. So after 30 days, you go in and they actually activate it, and they'll give you the cochlea implant device. And it comes in a nice little case like this. It actually comes in a big backpack. This is what it is. You can swim with the thing. It's got a special device that you can encapsulate everything to do all these things. But for me, the only thing I wanted to do is be able to walk down the street and hear and listen to the grandkids, be able to communicate with them. So the cochlea implant device can be anywhere between 40 and 60% word recognition effective. I'm at about 65%, so mine did really well. It can take, they tell me, up to a year for the brain truly to acclimate to the cochlea device in order for you to get a good feel for what your word recognition is going to be. So between the cochlea implant and this traditional hearing device, I probably have between 85 and 90% word recognition. So I'm very fortunate. I'm not sure that everybody is as fortunate as I am, but we see people with cochlea implants around all the time. So they give you this nice little case, and I'll open it up for a minute and show you what's in there for the cochlea implant. And what I did is I wrote my name at the top and I wrote my phone number down here. Obviously, I blocked it off for privacy purposes that you folks don't need to know. But I did it in Sharpie, and then I took some packing tape, some clear packing tape, and put it right over. You can probably see the edges of it. Put it right over um, the Sharpie information. That way, it won't rub off. Okay, so that's what I did. And then with more for my traditional hearing device, I grabbed an old eyeglass case. They give you a case, nice little case, but it can't hold. It doesn't really hold things that you need in order to manage this, like extra batteries. So I'll show you that in a second. But this is what I will carry my my traditional hearing aid. I put this in a dehumidifier every night when I'm home, and it's got those little blocks, those absorbent blocks, these things. Um, so you put it in there, and it heats up, and it keeps the moisture so that the tube doesn't fail. And these tubes, I have them changed every 3 months. The mold here that goes into your ear, I have that redone every 2 or 3 years because the cartilage in your ear are going to change. And you'll hear feedback. You'll know when it starts to fail. So that's something to keep in mind. The cochlea and this hearing aid device are in sync. So what can happen is we'll simply there's an app for it on your phone too, and on the app, this AB Bionics app, you can adjust um, the intensity of the hearing, how great the volume is, including the cochlea implant. In the old days, 2017, these were just manual, and you only had like 2 or 3 settings. You had high, medium, and low. But with the app, you have like 9, 12 choices on the app to determine how loud or soft it's going to be. So you get to adjust it on your app depending on the environment that you're in. So if you're home watching TV, maybe you're at 5. If you're in a soft environment, maybe you want to have it up to 8. If you're at a kid's recital and there's a lot of screaming, maybe you want to have it down to 9, or excuse me, down to 1. So the AB Bionics has great customer support. I question their corporate responsibility, but that's a separate issue. And I'll get to that in a second. So I've had 2 surgeries. 2017, I had it installed and they got it activated, and then 2022 they identified a manufacturer's defect in that regard. So the case comes with, and this is why I want a bigger case than what they give you for this simple thing, because there's so much more stuff that you can fit in here. So I've got extra batteries for the traditional hearing aid. Again, they change anywhere between 10 and 14 days. However, these fail. They have a certain life expectancy between 3 and 5 years. This is May 31st, 2026, and about a year ago, maybe longer, the battery only lasted like 10 days, no longer 10 to 14 days. So when they last 10 to 14 days, you change them every 10 days, right? Change them day 1 of the month, 10 of the month, 20 of the month, 1 of the month. It's really easy to keep track of. And then it went down to about 8 days. So I would change it every Monday. And then it went down to like every 5 or 6 days. And then it went down to about a month ago, went down to every 5 days. And so I got in touch with the audiologist and I said, hey, there's something wrong here. They gave me an appointment in a month. So you have to kind of stay up on these things because these specialists aren't always available like firefighters. Then about a week ago, it only lasted for about 5 hours. And then that only lasted for 1 day. And the following day, it lasted for 1 hour. And at that point, I went in to see, I had the appointment for the audiologist, and she determined that it had in fact failed. So my choice was have it refurbished, rehabbed for about $300, or order a new one that would take 3 or 4 months, and that would cost like $2,000. So by rehabbing it, I get it back within 2 to 4 weeks. So that's what I went with. That's what I wanted. The warranty for a rehab is only 6 months. Warranty for a new one is 3 years. So I really wanted a new one to renew the warranty, but I just couldn't wait 3 to 4 months to be able to get you know, 85% word recognition. So I'm down to like 60, 65% word recognition. I'm using an old traditional hearing aid that I had, so that's helpful, but it's not ideal. Um, your cochlea implant has a battery pack. They have disposable batteries. This is my disposable battery. Um, and it has a rail, and I'll show you how that gets attached to the device. And then it's just got these two disposable batteries right here. They're expensive. They're cochlea grade 675 batteries. And Power One is the only battery I've ever used for the cochlea. These batteries, once you put them in, last 2 full days. Obviously, depending on your usage, I think if you're up 14 hours a day, 28 hours, so say like 24 hours, they're good for 24 hours. And these are disposable, and they're pretty expensive. A box of 60 costs about, say $36. So say 50 cents a battery. So it's $1, it's 50 cents a day. As compared to these that last, 10 to 14 days, and they cost about 75 cents each. Then they have the rechargeable batteries. And you'll note that I have the number 1 on here because I have 5, and I rotate them in usage. In other words, I don't use battery number 1 until it dies and then recharge it. It takes about 2-3 hours to recharge, slow charger, the system that they give you. So I rotate these in and out. When I had my first cochlea implant, disposable batteries did not work at all, and I think it was the device. There was something wrong with it. It wasn't seating right or whatever, but I never got them to work. So I was always operating on the rechargeable batteries. I went in to see the audiologist, and she couldn't offer an explanation, so I was just happy to be able to hear, so that's what I went with. But if you're going away for the weekend, you probably want to get one of these disposable batteries because they last so long. The rechargeable ones, they probably last 10 hours, 10 to 12 hours. So if you're going away for the weekend, you got to bring 3 of them with you. Or bring up disposable. They come in a packet like this. Come in a packet of 6. It's got a nice little flap in the back, and you rotate them out. That's how you get them out. They've come up with these new packages that are childproof safety, and you need a jackhammer to get them out of there. It's really insane, but that's that's what you got to deal with. I always put an Apple iTag inside of this white case because the Apple iTag will tell you when you leave the device behind, and that's very important so you don't lose this case. Again, everything is in this case. I keep the disposable ones here, and I just have a little trash bag there, plastic little thing to cushion it. I mean, it's got a nice cushion here for everything else, but I prefer to have this here because these batteries, when you close the case, will drop off. So you just have this little cushion there, so make sure things don't get crushed. So that's why I have that there. So this space over here is for the cochlea itself. So if you're going away and you're going to go to sleep or you have to take it off, this is a nice little container. So I'll pull the cochlea off my ear right now, and I'll show you what's going on with it. So this is battery number 3, and it separates out by just pushing it that way, and that's how it goes on. So when you want to store the device, it's got that nice little case, and it stores it that way. This is the microphone. The microphone takes the sound, sends it through the processor. The processor sends it through the cable. The cable then sends it to the magnet, which will connect to the back of your head. There's no hole in your head. The device is under the skin, so nobody really sees it. This comes in a couple different colors. I'm gray-haired, so I got the silver one, or the gray one. The wire does disconnect. Let's pull it apart. Very, very simple. In 2017, the cochlea implant that I have, these cables failed every 8 to 10 months. This cable has been working since March of 2022, so it's over 4 years. They have great customer service at AB Bionics. Again, I'm not satisfied with the corporate identity that they have, but their customer service is fantastic. If you need something, they'll ship it overnight, provided that it's under warranty. If you lose this, a replacement costs $300 because they don't keep them in stock. When you first get your cochlea device, they got a system of points. And when you first get your device, you get like 14 points. And an extra battery might cost 6 points. An extra one of these might be 3 points. Well, I asked for one of these. They didn't send it to me. They sent me an extra one of these rechargeable batteries. They probably didn't have any more of these in stock and didn't realize the demand that there would be for those. I wanted to have one of these at home and at work so that I had options available. Rechargeable batteries take about 2 or 3 hours to recharge. They're not quick, but again, they last 10 to 12 hours, so they're durable. They're durable that you can keep it in your pocket. I wouldn't recommend that, but you can keep them in your shirt pocket along with some pens and stuff, and it'll be fine. You might lose them, but it's not going to destroy it. The rechargeable case is only very delicate plastic, and I can see it breaking if you drop it. So those are the options available to you. I'm going to put back in the rechargeable battery so that you can see. I don't know if I'm doing this right so you can see it, so I have to switch hands here. There we go. These two devices are synchronized. So you can shut both of them off at the same time. You can turn them on at the same time. You can adjust one. So this one might be at level 3, and the other one, the cochlea, might be at level 7. It's really a special app. Go to your phone, go to your iPad, and you can make great use of it. So if you're in an environment that gets really loud, I want to shut this thing off because I only have so much hearing left in that ear, and I can't. My hearing's just too fragile in my right ear, so I just don't want to expose it to loud noise. I don't go to church. I don't go to restaurants. It's just too loud. You can't have that conversation. They test you for that random noise, and your word recognition might be based on that. But the reality is, hearing aid devices only amplify sound. They don't replace natural hearing, and they can't divorce one conversation from another. So if you're in a crowded environment, it's not the best environment for you. And that's the reality of having hearing aids and being deaf. I never learned sign language. I understand there's some issues with people who sign and think that the artificial use of hearing instruments is degrading. Well, maybe they never had hearing, but I've had hearing, so I prefer to have that. But they are synchronized, and the reason why that's important is because if you're walking down the street and you haven't shut them off, and an ambulance goes by or a fire truck, with those sirens going, you pull up your phone, and I'm telling you, it's like 2 seconds you can shut these things down. You can also adjust the volume right here, and it will adjust the volume on both sides, both the cochlea and the traditional hearing aid. And so you can shut it off by just holding that down in the mute position for less than 2 seconds, and it just shuts off. They have, I've never used the adapters to go swimming because I have a history of vertigo, and I don't want to be in a lake or an ocean and have a vertigo attack and wind up down at the bottom of the ocean thinking that upside down is upside down or right side up or whatever. They give you this little device to pull up the microphone. The microphone. They call this a T mic. and it's easily replaced. And there's a little hole right up in here, and there's a pin in there that holds the T-mic to the processor. So in order to replace it, you just take this device, you push that pin out, and this will just fall right out. The pin is not easily removed. It's not going to fall out on its own. It's pretty well structured. Um, but that's what this device is for. They'll give you instructions and all this stuff and how you manage it. But don't take it as biblical information. You're going to have to play with it. You're going to have to see what works for you. I think everybody's different. I've been to the audiologist with all these other people who have cochlears, and everybody has their own nuance that they use in order to facilitate and make these items work. So I made this video for people who haven't had it, maybe people who do have it and can comment about what they do and make things work for them. I'm anxious to hear any tips that people may have as to how they make it work. But that's kind of how mine work. That's kind of how I'm managing all this stuff. So I hope you don't find yourself in a situation where your hearing is impaired to a great degree. Many people have hearing impairment. Mine was catastrophic.